Scriven King is a security analyst with experience in many fields, including dignitary protection and security operations. He's joining us now from the U.S. state of Connecticut. Thanks so much for joining us. Can you talk to us about this discovery of the bomb-making factory? They found explosives, chemicals, nails, which were going to be used as shrapnel. Talk to me about the degree of sophistication.
I can talk a little bit about that. You know, as we look at the explosive that was created, TATP, there are certain key ingredients that are needed to make it. Acetone being one of them, hydrogen peroxide, and then an acid. The nails, of course, are used for secondary targets or to cause the most damage. So this isn't that sophisticated of an operation, though the expertise to be able to create the explosive and have the desired impact safely without, blowing up the bomb maker in the process is quite telling.
There's been a report recently that the terrorists are refining their techniques and strategies, and one of the things they talk about is more bomb-making prowess. When you look at 3 attacks in 15 months in Europe, and as Kate Parkinson pointed out, security personnel unable to stop them, I want to talk to you about one of the things you just talked about, which are some of these common products that are found in these bombs, hair bleach, nails. You can pick that up at the hardware store. How do you stop something like that?
You don't, and that sounds a little bit strange, I think, to many Americans who've grown accustomed to much more actionable ways to prevent these sort of acts. I think that the best strategy for us is mitigation, which is that where we prepare for the attack versus being under the assumption that we can stop it at all times.
So how do you go about doing that?
You know, number one, you have to develop the mindset that it's not a matter of if, but when it will happen, and then adjust accordingly. Depending on the kind of target that you might be, or the places or the venue that you might be, you can take various measures, whether or not, whether you decrease the level of crowd participation, whether you can displace people, how fast you can get first responders on scene, looking for, including in the public on indicators of suspicious activity early on in the process. All of those things can be extremely beneficial.
There's a lot of talk today of governments turning to the Israeli model of security at airports and other soft targets. Do you think that's the direction we're all headed in? And what are the Israelis doing right, and the rest of us just don't seem to be doing it?
That's a very good question. There's a common belief within Western security services to look towards the Israelis for how to counter these particular threats. I think that sometimes that's great. The Israelis have a vast experience dealing with terrorism, but I think that sometimes we ignore some areas where we're not exactly like the Israelis. Number one, we're not as small as the Israelis. The Israelis are surrounded by their enemies on all sides, and even inside their own borders. Whereas the United States and Europe have a much more complex issue of having individuals inside of their borders, and that's not necessarily an invasion, if you will.
Interesting. Scriven King joining us from Connecticut. Thanks so much.